Let's catch up now with Pauline Hanson, the leader and founder of One Nation. Good to talk to you again, Pauline. While we're on the Middle East, I've got to talk about your call for Gazan refugees, people who came here under temporary visas from Gaza. You want them to go back to Gaza already. Isn't it a bit soon, given Hamas are still in control of parts of it and the place hasn't been rebuilt?
No, I don't think it's too soon to send them back. They shouldn't have never have been brought out here in the first place, Chris. When you've got 20 countries that have signed this peace agreement, let them go to some Muslim country or some Arab country where they should have gone in the first place, not here to Australia. And with these Palestinian protesters still on our streets every weekend, I'm sure they'll join them in the protest against Australians or the Jews in this country. No, Chris, I don't care. I really don't care. My obligation is to the people of Australia first and foremost. We have got people who can't get housing, people living in their cars, families. We've got people who are actually couch surfing. So no, my concern is for the people of Australia first and foremost. They came out here on tourist visas, then they're going to convert to other visas which will give them time in here for 3 years, I should say. No, send them back now.
Yeah, I certainly think they shouldn't have come here in the first place. Why Australia takes more refugees from Gaza than anybody else, including the neighbouring Muslim countries, is beyond me. And we're getting far too little information from the federal government about this.
Chris, send them back, because the fact is, no, security checks haven't been done on these people. What I've heard is about an hour, maybe 24 hours, they were given the visas. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. And Tony Burke can't tell me otherwise, or the Australian people, that we are on a probable national security risk at the moment for a terrorist attack on us. How do we know who these people are? I'm sorry, but our country, we need to be stronger, more stringent on who we bring in the country. We know who we're bringing in and why we're bringing them into the country. Sorry, I don't want these people here. And most of them, when 70 or 75% of people from Gaza support Hamas, the terrorist organisation, well, I'm sorry, I don't want those people in Australia, and I will damn well say it. And a lot of Australians are backing me, because I tell you what, I've had 11,000 comments on my letter to the Prime Minister, and 100,000 people have supported it.
There is a time limit on this soul-searching process. We must do it now, at the start of the term, so that it does not drag on forever. An ongoing mass public therapy session doesn't exactly scream ready for government.
I totally agree with you. You know, a lot of the Libs are getting splinters in their backsides from sitting on the fence too long and don't know which way to actually jump with it. And the problem is they're losing a lot of their support, and a lot of people are coming across the One Nation. I'm decisive in my policies. I'm, you know, all the time raising issues that the Liberal Party taking up our policies. People want mass migration, the net zero address, and the cost of living. And we have the policies to do that. The Libs, if they haven't got their act together by now, they never will have.
All right, folks, strap yourselves in, because this one's a doozy. We've got Pauline Hanson, yeah, that Pauline Hanson, the red-headed firecracker from One Nation, back in the headlines again, and this time she's swinging for the fences. She's calling for the Gazan refugees who fled to Australia during the conflict to be sent back. Yep, you heard me right, send them back. That's her phrase, not mine. And mate, when Pauline drops a line like that, you just know it's going to set the whole country buzzing. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, because we're diving headfirst into this spicy bit of political theatre that's got half of Australia nodding along and the other half screaming into their lattes. Before we dive into this Pauline Hanson send them back firestorm, where Hanson drops bombs on Gaza refugees, the government stumbles for answers, and half of Australia's losing its mind. Smash that like button harder than Pauline slamming the desk on live TV. Subscribe if you're sick of political chaos and media meltdowns. And grab the Who Voted for This shirt, links in the description. Now, let's set the scene. Pauline's on air, chatting with Chris, right? Calm as you like she's about to read the weather. Chris brings up Gaza and these refugees who came here on temporary visas, families who got out of a literal war zone. And he asks, basically, isn't it a bit early to talk about sending them back? Hamas is still in control, buildings are rubble, and the place isn't exactly livable. Reasonable question, right? But Pauline, in true Pauline fashion, doesn't flinch for a second. Straight face, firm tone. No, I don't think it's too soon. She says they should never have been brought here in the first place. And she doesn't stop there. She reckons they should have gone to some Muslim country or Arab country. Not here to Australia. Bang. You can almost hear the collective gasp from Sydney to Perth. She doubles down, saying, "We've got Aussies living in their cars, couch surfing, can't afford rent. Why should we take in people from Gaza?" It's the classic Hanson argument. Look after Australians first. And whether you love her or can't stand her, you've got to admit, she knows how to tap into that kitchen table frustration. The "I can't get housing but they can get visas" sentiment? That stuff lands. Now, Chris, ever the professional, tries to keep it balanced. He admits it's inhumane and impractical to send anyone back to Gaza right now, but brings up the idea of third countries, like Egypt, taking people in instead. And here's where Pauline's engine really revs. She goes off about security checks, or lack thereof, says she's heard some of these visas were handed out in a matter of hours, maybe a day. "I'm sorry, it's not good enough," she says, practically spitting fire. How do we know who these people are? You can almost see her slamming the desk. It's that righteous fury vibe. She's the self-proclaimed voice of ordinary Australians, the one willing to say the hard truths everyone else is too polite to mention on telly. Then she drops the bomb that really lights up social media. 70 to 75% of people from Gaza support Hamas. Mate, you could hear the collective "did she just say that?" echo through the whole country. Whether that stat's accurate or not is another story, but Pauline's never been one to get bogged down in nuance. She's all about the emotional punch. "I don't want those people in Australia," she declares. And I'll damn well say it. You can just picture the comments section exploding, half the crowd cheering her on, saying finally someone's speaking the truth, and the other half losing their minds over how dangerous and divisive that rhetoric is. But here's the thing, Pauline knows exactly what she's doing. This isn't her first rodeo. Every time she makes a statement like this, she dominates the headlines for days. It's political oxygen. One nation thrives on controversy, and Pauline's the master at spinning outrage into airtime. Then she flexes the numbers. She brags about getting 11,000 comments on her letter to the Prime Minister and 100,000 supporters backing her stance. Now, whether those numbers are from Facebook likes or actual signatures, well, who knows, but it doesn't matter. The point is, she's got traction. And in politics, perception is everything. If you can make it look like the public's behind you, you're already halfway to winning the argument. Let's pause here for a second. Because underneath the fire and fury, there's this age-old Aussie tension bubbling away, the debate over who deserves to call this country home. It's not new. We've had this fight for decades, refugees from Vietnam, from Syria, from Afghanistan, and now Gaza. Each time, the same questions resurface. How many can we take? Are they safe? Do they share our values? Pauline's just the loudest person asking those questions in 2025. And look, I get it. There's real fear out there. Aussies are struggling. Housing's a joke. Rents have gone up like a bloody rocket. You've got families living in tents while the government's out there approving new visa batches. So, when Pauline says, "We should look after our own first," that line hits home. It's simple, it's emotional, and it's the kind of soundbite that sticks. But simple doesn't mean smart. Because let's not forget, these Gazan refugees didn't just wake up one morning and say, "You know what'd be fun? A 20-hour flight to Australia." They were fleeing bombs, rubble, and chaos. Whole suburbs wiped off the map. Hospitals flattened. If you're a parent watching your kids starve or dodge airstrikes, you're not thinking about visa politics, you're thinking survival. So yeah, Pauline's stance might sound tough, but it's also cold as a Cairns beer fridge in midwinter. Sending people back to a war zone? That's not just tough love. That's brutal. But here's the kicker, she's not alone in this. Chris, the host, even agrees that they shouldn't have come here in the first place. He's baffled that Australia takes more refugees from Gaza than the surrounding Muslim countries. And he's not wrong on that point. It's bizarre that nations geographically closer often take fewer. But that's not because Australia's soft, it's because Australia's signing the checks in global diplomacy. We like to think of ourselves as humanitarian when it's convenient, and border hawks when it's not. It's a weird, hypocritical dance that every government does. Then the Home Affairs Minister steps in, Tony Burke, trying to sound calm and reasonable, talking about extensive security checks and family connections. But Pauline's not buying it for a second. She cuts right through the bureaucratic talk. "I don't believe you, mate." And honestly, for a lot of viewers, that skepticism lands harder than the minister's carefully worded defense. Because let's face it, trust in government's running lower than a bar fridge at a bush party. By this point, the interview's practically turned into a Pauline Hanson highlight reel. Every sentence she drops is a headline waiting to happen. We need to be stronger. No one knows who these people are. We could be facing a terrorist threat. Each phrase perfectly engineered to spark outrage, fear, or applause, depending on which side you're on. Then, as if things weren't fiery enough, she throws in a jab at the Liberal Party, calls them fence-sitters with splinters in their backsides. Classic Pauline, always ready to take a swing at anyone, even when they're technically on her side of politics. She reckons the Libs are too slow, too indecisive, too polished. Meanwhile, she's painting herself as the straight-shooting, no BS Aussie battler who says what others won't. And it works. Because in a political landscape full of scripted lines and focus group-approved answers, someone like Hanson stands out. She might be controversial, but she's authentic, or at least, she feels authentic. That's her power. When she says, send them back, people don't think policy position, they think, bloody hell, she means it. But let's be honest, authentic doesn't mean right. The problem with her stance isn't just the lack of empathy, it's the lack of realism. You can't just pack people up and send them back to Gaza when the place is literally in ruins. There's no infrastructure, no homes, no functioning government, just chaos and dust. It's like telling someone to go home when their home's been blown off the map. And what about the legal side? Refugee law, international conventions, humanitarian obligations, all those pesky little details. But now, Pauline's not about the fine print. She's about the punchline. Because punchlines get airtime, and airtime gets votes. What's wild is how she's managed to turn this into a rallying cry for one nation again. You can almost see her campaign team rubbing their hands together. Every headline, every Twitter thread, every late-night rant about Hanson's comments just fuels the machine. Even her critics keep her relevant. And that's the magic of controversy. You don't have to win the argument. You just have to own the conversation. Now, step back for a moment and picture the average Aussie watching this unfold. They're sitting on the couch, beer in hand, probably shaking their head saying, typical Pauline. But deep down, some of them agree. They might not say it out loud, but the sentiment's there: fear of change, frustration over housing, anger at the government. Hanson just packages all of that into a 5-minute soundbite and serves it with a side of outrage. But this isn't just a domestic squabble, it's part of a bigger global trend. Around the world, populists are using the refugee issue as political rocket fuel. You've got right-wing figures in Europe saying the same things, almost word for word. Our country first. Protect our borders. We can't afford to take them. It's a global script, and Pauline's just reading the Aussie version of it. Still, there's something particularly raw about how it lands here. Because Australia's whole national identity, this idea of fairness, mateship, giving everyone a fair go, it clashes so hard with the send them back rhetoric. It forces us to confront what that fair go really means. Is it just for people born here? Or for anyone desperate enough to risk everything for a shot at safety? Pauline doesn't care about that nuance. She's made her position crystal clear. Australians first, everyone else second, or not at all. She's betting that message will resonate louder than the criticism. And honestly, it probably will with her base. They love it when she ruffles feathers. They see outrage as proof she's telling it like it is. By the time the interview wraps up, Chris is trying to pivot to the Liberal Party's internal issues, talking about James Patterson's speech and the coalition's identity crisis. But Pauline, bless her, still manages to get the last word in. She's confident, defiant, even cheeky. People are coming across to One Nation, she says proudly. And you can tell she believes it. Here's the thing, agree with her or not, Pauline Hanson has an uncanny ability to sniff out discontent in the air and turn it into political capital. She's been doing it for decades. Every time mainstream parties think she's finished, she pops back up, riding a fresh wave of frustration, immigration, cost of living, national security, whatever's hot. She's like political Vegemite. You either can't stand her or you can't get enough, but either way, she's not going anywhere. And this Gaza refugee issue? It's her latest weapon. Because it's emotional, it's global, and it's divisive. Perfect conditions for a Hanson headline storm. She's already framing it as a moral crusade, protecting real Australians from weak government decisions. That's the story she's selling, and plenty are buying. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Beneath all the fiery rhetoric, this whole debate says more about us than it does about the refugees. It shows how quick we are to draw lines between us and them, to decide whose suffering counts and whose doesn't. It's easy to say send them back when you're sitting safe in your living room, miles away from the rubble of Gaza. It's a lot harder to imagine being the one on that plane, clutching your kids, hoping the next country doesn't close its doors. Pauline's not interested in that side of the story. Empathy doesn't win elections, anger does. And that's what this whole segment was, a masterclass in channeling anger. Whether it's righteous or misplaced, it's powerful stuff. So yeah, this interview wasn't just a chat about policy, it was a snapshot of where Australia's at in 2025. Tired, divided, anxious about the future. And in that chaos, Pauline Hanson's voice cuts through, sharp, simple, and unapologetically provocative. Love her or loathe her, you can't ignore her. Because when she says, send them back, she's not just talking about refugees. She's talking about a vision of Australia that's smaller, tougher, and, let's be honest, a bit meaner. A version that's turning inward, shutting the blinds, and saying, sorry mate, no room left. But here's the kicker, Australia's never been that kind of place. We're built on migration, on people starting over, on second chances. And if we lose that, we lose something bloody important about who we are. Still, Pauline's out there, microphone in hand, ready to stir the pot again. Because that's what she does best. And as long as there's outrage to be had and headlines to chase, you can bet she'll be there, smirking, unbothered, and probably saying, I told you so. So, whether you're cheering or cringing, buckle up. Because this debate, it's far from over. And if there's one thing we know about Pauline Hanson, it's that she never leaves quietly. Smash that like button if you enjoyed watching the government try to explain its way out of a burning paper trail. Subscribe if you reckon accountability shouldn't be a rare event. And as always, keep your eyes open, your beers cold, and your politicians on a short leash. Because if we don't hold them accountable, no one will. And don't forget to grab the Who Voted for This shirt, links in the description.